Hey everyone, and welcome back to another leadership episode. Today we're talking about one of the most common challenges in the workplace, at least I think it is, how to deal with a micromanaging boss. The reason I think it's one of the most common challenges in the workplace, because it's one of the most common things I hear from clients and people that I work with is a micromanaging boss. I've had a micromanaging boss. If you've been in workplace for any amount of time, it's likely you've either worked with one or your friends work with one. So if you've ever felt frustrated, second guessed, or feel like you're constantly being watched, this episode is for you because micromanagement isn't just annoying, it actually crushes motivation, kills creativity, and slowly erodes your confidence. But here's the truth, not every micromanager is a bad leader. Some of them are just stressed, some are insecure, and some don't know how to lead any other way. So today I'm going to give you 5 powerful, I hope they're powerful, they're very practical ways to handle a micromanaging boss with grace, strategy, and leadership. So follow along through all 5. They all may not apply to you, they should. You can use all 5, but they're going to build over time. And hopefully you don't have to use the 5th one. But if you do, that's life. So let's dive into what this is. The first one is understanding the why. Before you react, reflect. Micromanagement often comes from stress or pressure from above, insecurity or fear of failure, lack of trust, previous letdowns. Maybe they've had previous letdowns. Could be also be a learned behavior. They were micromanaged themselves, and so they're just practicing what they learned. Again, we're not making excuses. The goal here is to understand. So sometimes they're just overwhelmed and they don't know how to let go. Generally, people don't micromanage because they want to be annoying. They're often shaped or trying to control their own anxiety by controlling others. And that's usually what happens in those situations. They're using power to control others. Understanding the why is very important because it helps in several ways. I think 3 ways. Number 1, it gives you a helpful filter. If you understand the why, it's a way for you to see what might really be going on. Number 2, it allows you to process and not assume they're intending to be annoying with facts because you might be able to match it up with what's going on. It might be the last reason that they are just annoying, but that's usually not the case. And this one's also very important, number 3. It also can reduce imposter syndrome in yourself. Many people I coach have imposter syndrome. We all have it. That's a fact at different levels. But having a micromanaging boss really elevates the imposter syndrome in you. And that's not fair to you. So how do you reduce that? Well, if you're under a micromanager, or oftentimes you're likely going to come to believe that you're the problem and you just can't get your act together. When in reality, that's just not the truth. So try this. Shift from frustration to curiosity. Ask yourself, what is behind this behavior? Are they under pressure? Are they trying to protect their own job? Am I projecting their behavior on myself in the form of imposter syndrome? Compassion doesn't mean enabling. We're just trying to evaluate at this phase. But it does give you the patience to respond instead of reacting. And how do you respond? Well, we're going to get into that. Strategy 2, build trust over time. Trust can be an antidote to micromanagement, but it takes intentionality and curiosity. Instead of trying to earn trust in one big moment or one event, focus on small, consistent, intentional wins. How do you do that? Well, one way is to meet your deadlines. The key here is to verify as much as possible every task or project due date. Doing this will reduce imposter syndrome on your part because if your boss always says you're not meeting your deadlines, but you are, you actually have facts to back up your actions. The next way is communicate clearly. And how do I mean by that? Well, actually, I'd say intentionally over communicating is the key here. If they expect you to report in every week, but they're following up with you daily, well, then beat them to the punch and report in daily. For example, if they check in each morning, then beat them to it by sending an end-of-day email to them with an end-of-day report as to a status with what you're doing. You have to decide when and how this makes sense for you, for your role. Another way is to keep them informed before they have to ask. While you can't read their minds, even though They probably think they can read your mind. Find a way to have a list of tasks with due dates and times that is visible or sent on a regular basis. Here's what that can look like. Personally, I use Monday.com. You can use whatever you want, whatever software. I have a shared board with dates and times. At any time, my boss, the president, can access this and see what projects I'm working on and due dates. He can also add comments and questions. So you got to find a way that works for you, but the way to really do this is to anticipate questions. If they tend to hover, proactively send a quick status update before they check in. Again, you can't read their mind. It's about proactivity here. Over time, you'll train them to relax because you're on it. Strategy 3 is use the B method to give feedback. If you feel safe, so you've tried a few things, if you feel safe and you're ready to have direct conversations, again, we're building up here. Here's one approach that has worked for me. It's the B method, which is B.E.E, behavior, emotion, effect. You want to break down what you're experiencing into observational facts. There are several direct outcomes of this. So you want to put your feelings into clear facts that you can express and that are heard. You also want to share your perspective on how your boss actions of micromanagement are affecting you. And 3, you want to open up the door for dialogue, not judgment. Again, the goal here isn't to say, hey, you're a micromanaging boss and I'm here to fix you. That's not going to go well. You know that. But how do you use the B method in a way to highlight change and proactivity? Well, here's how it could sound. Hey, this is me. Obviously, I usually start with hey. So you can start with whatever you want. Hey, when you replace every email I send before it goes out, I feel like my work isn't trusted. The effect is that I hesitate to make decisions to take initiative. So that's just one way. Again, you're highlighting when you revise, it's a fact, behavior, every email before it goes out. I feel like my work isn't trusted, emotions. And the effect is I hesitate because I can't take effect. I'm not taking initiative in this. So what's the effect? Another way is this is a way to maybe highlight something. If I'm missing the mark or not meeting expectations, I love the chance to address that too. In the end, I want to do a good job, yet I'm unsure where I stand. Again, that's highlighting a behavior that's happening, a emotion that you're feeling, and the effect. Again, you need to put it in your own words, but if you can use that B method, it really can help. This isn't about blaming. It's about naming the impact and opening up the micromanagement to dialogue. Again, we're not calling it out specifically, but we're open up to dialogue. Pro tip here, keep the tone neutral and calm. You're inviting dialogue, not triggering a defense. If your boss is open to feedback, this is great. This can spark real change. And then you can circle back to the other strategies we talked about, or it will lead to the next one, which is number 4, set clear boundaries respectfully. Micromanagers often operate out of habit. They keep checking in because no one has said otherwise. No one has told them, hey, that doesn't work, or I feel stressed. It's okay to gently push back. For example, would it be helpful if I sent you a midweek update instead of checking in every day? Or to stay focused, would you be open to letting me own this from here on out and check in at the end of the week? The key here is to set up a strategy to open dialogue while moving the conversation forward, not just in a circle. You're offering a solution, not a complaint. Framing of this really does matters. If they dismiss your suggestions with something like, no, this works for me, then go back to strategy 3. If none of these work, then it's time for strategy 5. Again, we're trying to step in here and lead them to understand micromanagement is causing problems, for you to grow out of imposter syndrome because it is affecting you. So I've given you 4 different ways, not to tiptoe around it, to gently push in, but let's be honest, that may not work. So now we're going to go to strategy 5. Know what you can and can't control. Here's the hard truth. While you will never be able to fix your boss, Strategies 1 through 4 are about finding a middle ground. However, with some leaders who are not self aware or they don't care to be self aware, some organizations enable micromanagement, usually by prioritizing results over everything else, including people. So ask yourself, can I manage up effectively and create space? Can I find ways to thrive within the system I'm at? Or is this long term approach a mismatch? Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is explore other opportunities. I did an episode on active waiting, and in this case, if it's a mismatch, I would recommend you practice active waiting. In essence, active waiting is proactively working to change the situation while preparing yourself for a change on your terms. So, what that looks like is you're actively trying to change the micromanagement situation with your boss, while at the same time, if you're approaching step 4 and 5 and it's not going well, proactively saying, okay, how do I move on to the next step? What will it look like for me to find another job? Is my resume ready? And do I have answers to questions for why are you leaving your job, etc., like that? You do deserve to work in a place that values you. Again, highlight the active waiting, highlight hiring a coach. You don't have to hire me, hire somebody, but schedule a free discovery call for 30 minutes with me or another coach that offers a free consultation. There are no strings attached to these calls. I don't send you 100 emails afterwards. I send you one afterwards. It's a free 30-minute time to process and to actually give you action steps for your current situation and to see if coaching is the next step for you. Again, it's about growth. Are you stuck and are you blaming yourself? Don't blame yourself. Move on. So, quick recap: how to deal with a micromanaging boss, understand the why, build trust over time, use the B.E.E. method for feedback, set respectful boundaries, and know what you can control and what you can't control. These strategies are not just about coping, they're about leading from where you are. Micromanagement isn't always personal, but how you respond can shape your experience, your growth, and your leadership ability and your leadership legacy. If you want a step-by-step guide to implementing these strategies, plus scripts for self-reflection questions, go to the free toolkit. There's a link in the show notes for that. I have a toolkit that's free for most episodes. Again, I provide free resources to you. Sign up for that, and you can also sign up for a free monthly newsletter if you want. So in closing, if this video helped you shift your perspective or gave you language for what you're facing, hit like and subscribe and leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Which strategies are you going to try, or which one has worked for you? Until next time, I'm Jonathan Hankin, your leadership coach. Keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading change.